It was the party everyone in Hollywood wanted to crash: Kris Jenner's 70th birthday bash, a night dripping with diamonds, drama, and designer gowns. Imagine it: crystal chandeliers raining light like paparazzi flashes, champagne pyramids taller than Kim's ego, and every A-lister shimmering in. Bond-themed glamour. The air was thick with money, perfume, and pure fame. And then the room froze. Out of the Montecito mist, yes, their Montecito stepped Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The crowd didn't gasp, they blinked. A collective, polite confusion spread like wildfire. Wait, who invited the Netflix couple? Someone whispered. 'Cause let's be real, this was supposed to be Hollywood's night, not an unscheduled episode of The Crown, Outtakes edition. The pair stood at the entrance, smiling a little too wide, soaking up the flashes that, ironically, weren't meant for them. For two people who swore they hated the spotlight, they sure found it every single time it flickered. Meghan walked in like the Duchess. She still believes she is chin high, stride sharp, exuding that "I belong here" energy. But the crowd wasn't buying it. Hollywood had already moved on to newer obsessions, and this comeback wasn't on anyone's guest list. Behind her trailed Harry, one hesitant step back, looking like a human Wi-Fi signal flickering between supportive husband and "how did I end up here?" His cheeks red, his smile unsure, he clutched his drink as if it were his last emotional lifeline. You could almost read his thoughts. We left the palace for this? Kris, ever the seasoned PR queen, greeted them with that signature Jenner charm, warm, photogenic, and precisely measured. Air kisses, smiles, a perfectly calculated arm's length distance. She knew this wasn't friendship, it was optics. And Kris Jenner never wastes a camera flash. Now, let's talk about Meghan's outfit. Oh dear. For a Bond-themed night drenched in sequins and couture, Meghan showed up in a black turtleneck and a shiny polyester sarong skirt. Everyone else looked ready for a red carpet magazine cover. Meghan looked ready for a PTA meeting. It wasn't minimalist chic, it was missed memo. Guests exchanged polite smiles, cameras zoomed in, and within minutes, Twitter had roasted her look like a holiday turkey. Even the chandeliers seemed to dim in secondhand. Embarrassment. And when she struck that over-rehearsed S-pose, shoulders back, chest out, hips at a 45 degrees angle, the room collectively sighed. You could see the panic behind her practiced smile. Meghan wanted to blend in, but instead, she stood out, and not in the flattering kind of way. Meanwhile, Harry hovered beside her, looking every bit the man who realized that leaving royal duty didn't mean leaving royal awkwardness. His tie was crooked, his eyes glazed, and his body language screamed, "I used to be someone important." As the night unfolded, Meghan tried harder. The motto, "laugh too loud" moments, the hair flips timed to non-existent cameras, all desperate attempts to claim attention that wasn't being offered. Harry just stood there, still clutching his martini, given that "please don't let this go viral" grin. And Kris? She'd already moved on to air-kissing Jeff Bezos' girlfriend. But the real headline came in one tiny detail: the poppy. Harry wore his red remembrance poppy proudly on his lapel, as he always has, that small flower symbolizing duty, sacrifice, and the soldiers he once served beside. Meghan? Nothing. Not even a pin. And here's the thing. This party happened on Remembrance Weekend, one of the most solemn times in the royal calendar. While Princess Anne was in Australia paying tribute to veterans, Meghan was posing under a disco ball in Calabasas. Her reported excuse? Poppies aren't common in America. Honey, the Royal British Legion literally ships them worldwide. There's no shortage of poppies, maybe just a shortage of sincerity. And the irony burns hotter than Kris's birthday candles. Meghan has worn poppies before, proudly, even in London during remembrance events and with Harry at a US Navy base. So this time, her absence said it all. Harry's poppy whispered guilt. Meghan's missing one shouted detachment. One clings to duty out of regret, the other cuts it off for convenience. Then came the claw. Oh yes, Meghan's infamous hand-on back power grip made a return. Every royal watcher knows the move, that firm, possessive placement that says, "This is my scene now." And the victim this time? None other than Kris Jenner herself. As Kris posed in her elegant backless gown, Meghan's hand landed squarely on her bare back, fingers spread. Grip tight, smile strained. It wasn't affectionate, it was territorial. Kris's frozen smile said it all. Smile for the photo, but please don't smudge the brand. In that single moment, Meghan didn't just insert herself into the frame, she tried to claim it. But Kris Jenner didn't build an empire by letting anyone else steal the spotlight. Her grin stayed flawless, her eyes stayed calm, but the body language? It screamed distance. By the next photo, Kris had subtly repositioned herself, space restored, message sent, and then poof, the photos vanished. Within hours, the pictures of Meghan, Harry, Kris, and Kim disappeared from social media faster than Kris could say brand control. First, they appeared after fans noticed none were posted. Then, after a wave of online mockery, they were scrubbed clean, deleted, erased, like the night had never happened. Fans noticed. Weird, one wrote. They were up for 5 minutes now. They're gone. But we all knew why. Even the Kardashians, the queens of optics, realized that sharing a photo with the Sussexes was bad PR. Hollywood, the town that forgives everything except bad branding, decided to ghost them. And when Kris Jenner, the woman who turned family drama into a billion-dollar industry, decides you're bad optics, that's the final social death blow. Think about it. Just a few years ago, Meghan was being curtsied to. Harry was saluted in military regalia. The world watched them wave from palace balconies, symbols of heritage and honor. Now they're the awkward plus ones at someone else's Hollywood spectacle, hoping to be noticed between Kim Kardashian's pout and a champagne tower. Their story has become poetic irony. Once they had duty, now they have hashtags. Once they were revered, now they're tolerated. That night was supposed to be their grand comeback, a sparkling return to relevance. Instead, it became a crash course in Hollywood humiliation. Across the ocean, the royal family was doing what they always do, quietly serving. King Charles leading remembrance tributes, Princess Anne representing the crown abroad, the imagery of stability, tradition, purpose. And then, across the Atlantic, Harry and Meghan were clinking glasses under chandeliers, surrounded by influencers. The contrast couldn't be starker. Legacy versus likes, service versus selfies, duty versus delusion. And you could see it, that flicker of realization, in Harry's eyes. The man who once stood on the Buckingham balcony beside his grandmother now stood in a Beverly Hills mansion beside people who call themselves brand architects. His smile said, "Fun night," but his eyes whispered, "What have I done?" As the flashbulbs faded, so did the illusion. Hollywood didn't see them as equals, it saw them as props, background characters in a celebrity soap opera. By the time the cake was cut, one truth was undeniable. They weren't the stars of this story. They were the sideshow. By the next morning, the internet had done what it does best, memed them into oblivion. From palace to party crashers, one tweet read, "The royal rebrand no one asked for," another said. Even Kim looked uncomfortable in the surviving shots, her face politely frozen in that universal "I don't want to be here" expression. It's tragic, in a poetic way. The couple, who once represented modern royalty, young, vibrant, rebellious, are now symbols of overexposure and misplaced ambition. They said they wanted privacy, yet every move screams, "Look at us." Every pose calculated, every smile rehearsed, every event another attempt to stay relevant in a world that's already moved on. But Hollywood is a cruel mirror. It doesn't care who you were, only who you are now. And that night, surrounded by sequins, chandeliers, and champagne, the truth glistened brighter than any diamond in the room. They weren't royalty anymore, they were just entertainment. By sunrise, the champagne had gone flat, the chandeliers were dim, and Calabasas had already moved on to the next scandal. But for Harry and Meghan, the hangover wasn't from the drinks, it was from reality. Every gossip outlet had their say. Some called it the royal crash of the century, others whispered it was Kris Jenner's most awkward guest list ever. Headlines oozed with the kind of irony only Hollywood could serve. Even late-night hosts couldn't resist. Harry and Meghan at Kris Jenner's party. Somewhere, Buckingham Palace is shaking its head in disbelief. Behind the scenes, insiders claimed Meghan was shocked the photos were deleted. She had apparently told friends that Kris's team must have made a mistake. But let's be honest, Kris Jenner doesn't make mistakes when it comes to PR. Every frame, every caption, every tag is triple-checked before it goes live. So, when those pictures vanished, it wasn't a glitch. It was a decision, a quiet Hollywood exorcism. And poor Harry, bless him, didn't even seem angry, just tired. The man who once served in Afghanistan, who stood shoulder to shoulder with veterans, now stood shoulder to shoulder with influencers, selling skincare lines. The transformation was complete. What began as a royal rebellion had turned into a public relations punchline. Friends of the Kardashians later spilled that the vibe had shifted the moment the Sussexes arrived. It was like the energy changed, one insider said. People didn't know whether to curtsy or take selfies. Even Kim, always the master of composure, looked like she was silently calculating how to crop the couple out before the night was over. But the saddest part? Meghan didn't see it that way. To her, this was networking. She worked that room like an actress at an audition, flashing smiles, locking eyes, sprinkling those carefully rehearsed compliments. "So proud of what you've built, Kris," she reportedly gushed, unaware that Kris's smile had already shifted into "thank you, please move along" mode. Harry, meanwhile, lingered near the bar, his safest battlefield, a quiet observer in a noisy world. His gaze drifted between Meghan and the crowd, somewhere between pride and regret. When someone joked about royal security, he forced a laugh, but you could see the flicker of embarrassment in his eyes. This wasn't his world, and deep down, he knew it. By the time the couple slipped out long after the cameras had turned their lenses elsewhere, the chatter had already begun. "Did you see Meghan's outfit? Why didn't she wear a poppy? Was that claw thing real?" The gossip train had no brakes, and as it rolled into Monday morning headlines, one truth was crystal clear. They didn't conquer Hollywood, Hollywood consumed them. From royal palaces to red carpet purgatory, their story had come full circle. The glitz, the posing, the desperation, it all pointed to a simple, painful reality. Fame without foundation fades fast. And in Kris Jenner's kingdom of controlled chaos, the Sussexes had played themselves out of the frame. That night wasn't just a party. It was a mirror reflecting exactly what they'd become. Not icons, not rebels, just background noise in someone else's spotlight.